There it is, folks. Welcome to Rebel Without Applause. That was the tune Wave by the brilliant Brazilian composer Antonio Carlos Jobim. Welcome. This is the little Licorice Live section of my podcast. Wave was released, when was that released? In 1967 on an album by Jobim of the same title. And what this album did was it introduced, to a large extent, that Brazilian bossa nova sound to America. And my favorite recordings of Wave are Paul Desmond's Pure Desmond, or as sung by João Gilberto on the album Corcovado. And lastly, and maybe leastly, but I can't help but recommend it to you folks out there, my album, First Point, which is available on iTunes. Check it out. We have the tune Wave. It's part of the playlist on that album there. So that's my little tribute to all things bossa nova, Brazilian, and aquatic. And welcome once again to Rebel Without Applause. I'm coming to you this afternoon from the cozy confines of my movie studio apartment right here in the wood of the holly under the sign. And I think I finally found a little clear space where there's not construction raging around me, and I can get this podcast recorded and uploaded and off into the universe. My goal is, as an abstract and brief chronicler of this, the cockeyed caravan called life, my goal is to explore the netherworld of my brain, and just maybe, hopefully, I can shed a little light into yours. That's the consciousness expanding sort of goal of this endeavor, this microphone experiment of mine. And I can say this. As a writer, it's always a thrilling moment when your powers of expression increase and a new word comes into your awareness and expands your consciousness. And so it was this week when I learned the meaning of the word boof or boofing. After a short internet search, I learned that to boof is derived from the two first letters of an expression commonly used to describe an alternate or secondary form of sexual penetration. So in essence, this word boof, it's actually a contraction of the more expansive word that, for the prudent purposes of this podcast, remain best unsaid. I don't mean to go all grammatical on you, but the word boof is normally, as I now understand it, primarily used as a verb. And being a verb, it can be conjugated as follows. In the present tense, I boof, or more actively, he is boofing her. Or if more than one are involved, they boof. That would make it plural. And in the presumptive past tense, it could be he would boof, or he could have boofed, or they should have boofed, or if only this happened, we could have boofed. If, for example, I was playing a sodomy-themed version of Hamlet, I might ask, to boof or not to boof? That is the question. Or, in a more contemporary vein, some frat boy might exclaim, Yo, dude, after downing a sixer of skis, and skis is short for brewskis or beers, yo, dude, after downing a sixer of skis, he pinned Julie's roommate to the floor and fucking boofed her before anyone could come into the room. So there you go, folks. A new word, consciousness expanded, thanks to Brett Kavanaugh, or for the purposes of this podcast, the Cav. And so, like, the rest of the world, I saw the testimony. It was there for all to see, replayed and then parodied on Saturday Night Live and analyzed and sifted through. And I can tell you, I can't stop thinking about it. The whole pageant, to me, feels like something out of an F. Scott Fitzgerald novel. Fate and destiny, class and gender, privilege and partisanship playing out on the grandest stage of all for every one of us to witness. There he was, the Cav, the brat boy billionaire's evil spawn, the nominee, the presumptive Supreme Court justice seated there in all his glory before that oak panel desk, that microphone angled gently towards his face. And what a face. just looking at the guy, I don't know, he pisses you off. He's got a face, gets all scrunched up. It's got this mean mouse look that really provides scant cover for all the anger and resentment that rages inside. His cheeks still a little red from all the beer and booze and boofing. His whole demeanor a little shop-worn from all the time in the Devil's Triangle. He has a face that invites a punch. You just want to clench your fist and smash it. I hate to say that because I'm trying to practice nonviolence as a discipline, but still the impulse rages within. And what's so infuriating about the guy is he's so familiar. He's so average. He's so mediocre. He's so lacking in courage and social intelligence. He's a walking resume, an empty suit. And what's more, he's a wolf. He's the kind of dude who can only hunt in packs. And worse yet, as we all saw, he's a fucking crybaby. Yuck. We've seen this guy in 1 million high school yearbooks, his smoothly coiffed hair and half-baked grin smirking off the page, the smug jock, the fave fraternity brother who channeled his puritanical good boy, wannabe bad boy energy into booze and partying and to scoring blowjobs under bleachers. Yeah, he enjoyed the kind of approved rebellion only accorded the privileged and white and secure. These were the kids whose futures were paved, whose courses were charted. They were the white-bread waspies on the primrose path. Those were the daddies who could pull the strings when Junior drove drunk or knocked up a girl from the other side of the tracks. I didn't have those kind of daddies, not me. And certainly the black kids didn't have those daddies. Geez, if they fucked up, they were done. Toast, flushed down the river, never to be seen again. Yo, boy, go to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. That was their fate, but not the fate of the Cav. And then the women. The shattered, broken army of the abused, the traumatized, and the shattered. They stumble out of adolescence after meeting the calves of the world. They stumble out of their adolescence into addiction, broken relationships, failed marriages, aborted educations, and lost opportunities. And guess what? That's not all. Here's a heads up. These ladies, they're not the only victim. No. We're also victims. By that, I mean us, the boys, who carried these very same girls' books to school every morning, hoping for a smile, a favor, maybe a kiss on the cheek. Oh, if we're lucky, a date at the prom. Yeah, the nice guys, the future boyfriends and husbands. We who would have to clean up the messes these dickwads, the calves, leave behind. We pay a steep price, too. After all, we're the ones who have to deal with the wreckage, the over-therapized, dysfunctional 12-step bipolar bundles of human scar tissue that the calves of the world leave behind. Yeah, us. I'm not begging for sympathy here. I'm just trying to complete a full picture of the spectacle that unfolded. Because after all, it was my friends. The Jewish kids, in my case, we were the public school strivers. We didn't even think of getting drunk or high or scoring cheerleaders. Frankly, it was just out of the realm of our possibility. We were too busy studying and fantasizing. We were suffering through the cruel nights and lonely mornings alone in bed, masturbating ourselves into oblivion. Our plan was to defer the gratification that the calves of the world indulged in until after med school or law school or, after we got that MBA or we scored the big corporate job or even better yet, landed a gig at a movie studio or a network. Then and only then could we have a shot at realizing the fantasies of a sex-starved youth. All you have to do is witness the Moonvilles and the Weinsteins and the Winds. Those are those boys. But not in high school. I didn't get to indulge. Not in college. No. Those were the years that my ilk suffered in silence. But Kavanaugh, the Cav, Man, his whole nomination is such a big fuck you letter, courtesy of his patron saint, the billionaire brat boy. It's nothing to be amazed at, really. I mean, the calf is cut from the same cloth as the guy who appointed him. And hell, look at all the other dipshits the PVP surrounded himself with. As a note, PVP stands for Putin's vice president. Look at all the other dipshits that the PVP has surrounded himself with. You have Cohn, Manafort, Flynn, Papadopoulos. It's a frigging crime family. Hell, there's more indictments and convictions surrounding him than there are flies to shit. So the latest turd that he's dropped in our laps, this frat boy gone wild, gone straight, and now gone bonkers, should come as no surprise. And then, on the other side of the ledger, the co-star in this drama, this novel, we have another story, another novel narrative waiting to be written. The story of Kristine Blasey Ford, a.k.a. my surf sister of the soul. The clues were in her testimony, all there, like glass beads glittering in the sand, but it would take a surfer to see those glass beads, someone from the wave-riding tribe, to imagine them connected together into a different story. And so it goes. As a girl, Kristine Blasey loved the pool. She was a diver. That's right. She said so. She exhilarated in that glorious free fall from all those country club high dive platforms with her eyes wide, her blonde ponytail extended behind her, the one-piece bathing suit firm against her pubescent form. She'd soar through the summer sky and pierce the aqua blue like a stiletto with hardly a ripple, nary a splash to be seen as she sliced into the depths. So pretty, so graceful, so full of feline teenage joy, Kristine Blasey. Later, some years after the assault and the trauma and the guilt and the shame, she found herself on the opposite coast at Pepperdine University, a quaint conservative institution where, ironically, Kenneth Starr had presided over its law school after his special counsel days. And yes, that's the same Kenneth Starr and the same special counsel who pursued the Clinton indiscretions with a puritanical and self-righteous fervor, and who, during that same time of self-righteous and puritanical fervor, was aided and abetted by a young Yale law school grad who was ever so eager to make points with his Republican patron. Yep, you know who I'm talking about. That's right, the calf. But where was I? I digress. Oh, yes, okay. Pepperdine, the quaint conservative conclave nestled on a hilltop that affords a spectacular overlook of my blue heaven on earth, and that's Malibu. From the Pacific Coast Highway, the campus sort of resembles more of a citadel, a sort of 20th century monastery than it does an actual university, framed by sandstone peaks and fronted by a gorgeous green lawn. Pepperdine overlooks that most spectacular section of coastline. And for me, as a matter of fact, it's probably the most spectacular section of coastline in the whole friggin' Pacific Ocean. So from Point Doom to the Malibu Pier for 10 glorious miles, the waves peel off a series of points that offer up magic carpet rides of joy to this SoCal tribe of intrepid wave riders, of which I am proudly one. And that's where she first tasted it. That's right. That's where Kristine caught the bug. That's where the transformation began from preppie East Coast coed into a surf sister of the soul. It was on those waves where the pain first started to fade, the trauma and the shame began to subside like the outgoing tide. It was where finally she could feel that familiar joy, the same joy she first felt as she floated off those high dive platforms as a young girl. Yeah. During her testimony, she often, or on a few occasions, referred to her friends from the beach. And we surfers know who they are. They're the dudes, the uncles, the wahines and groms that make up the tribe, the crew that she convenes with on weekends and summer evenings to ride the bone-chilling waves off the Northern California coast where she now resides. So it was on those waves that the reinvention occurred. It was on those waves where she flushed from herself the residue of those private schools and churches and country clubs and cotillions and the bitter sweet 16s that she lived through as a young girl. It was where she expunged the calves and the predatory preppie boys that corrupted her memory, that haunted her. Sure, you can find those same fuckers in California. We've got our share of preppy goofballs, but not on the beach, and for sure not on surfboards riding waves. Those dudes, they get their asses kicked. And once they do, they never come back. And so, with her locks of blonde hair dripping over her face, with all her cuteness and coyness, and yes, crow's feet creasing off those angel blue eyes, Kristine Blasey Ford yanked the sheep's clothing off the wolf. And the wolf sat there, his savage self whimpering, alone, naked to the world. Revenge is best served cold. Yeah, so there it is, folks. My little portrait of partisanship, trying to craft a little drama out of what we saw. Maybe it might be the basis of a movie someday. Probably will be. Probably a Netflix movie, because nobody makes movies anymore. Although there's a few out there I'm looking forward to see. But that's it. That's sort of my little reflection on the events. I hope you liked it. And I'm going to probably pull this little podcast to its conclusion, a little tugboat of thoughts and ideas coming to its dock. And if you enjoyed it, if you got a kick out of it, if it intrigued your interest, if you're anxious to hear more, do me a favor. Go to the iTunes little podcast page, my page, write a review, throw me some stars, share it to a friend, pass the word. I'm really trying to launch this thing. There's 8 billion people on Earth, and I think I have 80 followers. So the potential for growth is awesome. I can say that. And thanks once again for checking in. And till next time, adios, goodbye, and adieu.